Hey, Msoul, Venus Callida here. All right, it's time. I'm gonna go there. I was told once that there would be a name waiting for me at the end of it. Not a name I chose, a name I would become Mrs. It was spoken like a reward, like a final form, like a door that would open if I simply endured enough of the world without breaking. But I have walked long enough to understand something else. Some doors do not exist. Some are painted onto stone so the living can point at them and say, "Keep going." I kept going. I still do. But the corridor did not lead there. It led elsewhere. To quiet rooms where people try to decide what you're allowed to be. To conversations where your voice is treated like a suggestion rather than a boundary. To moments where saying no is not the end of a discussion but the beginning of an argument. I've learned that many do not hear no as a complete sentence. They hear it as a challenge, or a delay, or a puzzle to be solved until it becomes yes. And when it does not become yes, something sharper appears beneath their words. A need to diminish, to correct, to claim. I've seen it in workplaces. I've seen it in strangers. I've seen it in the brief spaces where loneliness lets people approach too quickly, too freely, as though the absence of another person in my life means the absence of boundaries within it. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from being asked to explain your limits repeatedly to people who treat those limits as optional. There's another kind that comes from realizing that even kindness, when given too often to the wrong hands, becomes a currency spent on nothing that returns. I wanted a life that felt like partnership, not negotiation, not management, not defense. Something shared, something safe, something where presence did not require vigilance. Instead, I learned to scan for risk before I learned to scan for connection. I learned to read tone faster than affection. I learned to leave conversations early in my mind while still standing in them physically. There were names I was told I should accept. There were dynamics I was told weren't quote unquote normal. There were expectations dressed up as destiny, but none of them felt like belonging. And so I stopped confusing attention with care. I stopped confusing pursuit with respect. I stopped confusing proximity with safety. I'm told sometimes that I'm too selective, but I do not think that is what it is. It's not selection, it is recognition. There are some hands that do not feel like they were ever meant to hold gently. There are some voices that carry the sound of instruction even when they claim to be speaking in affection. There are some offers of companionship that arrive already tangled in control. I've no interest in becoming someone's managed thing. No interest in becoming corrected into softness. No interest in shrinking myself until I'm easier to keep. So I remain here, not because I wanted solitude, but because I cannot survive the alternative offered to me. And still, there is grief. Not loud grief, not dramatic grief. The kind that arrives quietly when you see what others seem to receive as effortless. Family, marriage, children, in whichever order. A life that expands outward instead of tightening inward. I grieve it without ceremony, without permission, and without resolution. Sometimes I imagine that version of life like a city seen through fog, visible but unreachable. Not stolen and not taken, just not mine. And I'm left with the knowledge that I cannot build it by force or bargaining or endurance. And I'm not willing to do it by sacrificing my most core values and needs. Only by something that has not yet appeared. So I choose what I can choose: safety, stability, My own door that locks from the inside so that I can sleep safely at night. My own money, my own breath, unmonitored, my own silence when I need it. It's not a victory, and it's not a defeat. It's simply the shape of the life that remains when everything else proves unlivable. And I walk on it, not toward misses, not toward the myth, but through the corridor that is actually here, step by step, without asking it to become something else. I'm Venus Callida. I wish for and hope that our dreams become fulfilled without sacrificing who we really are and the life we really need. Take care out there, Msoul. You deserve it. So do I. So I'm going to keep on that path. Till our next adventure, I'll see you out there.